Hello and welcome to My Perspective Mondays. Come on, it's so good to see everybody. This is great to be together again, and we got a great show for you tonight. I hope you had a great weekend because we're going to be talking about helicopter parents make sneaky kids. Okay, that's what we want to talk about tonight. It's interesting. I mean, hey. I know them helicopter parents can really be something, but making sneaky kids, we're going to discuss that a little bit. I don't know about all that. We're going to try to resolve that tonight. How about
What you
that?
mean you don't know about all that?
I just
Before
don't know.
before we start, what's the definition of helicopter kid? If you
That's
don't
what I was
mind,
going to ask.
am
Right,
I am
that's
I am I
usually
too
what
old?
Mark says.
That's usually my
Because-
question. Yeah.
Right, that's usually Mark's question.
Go for
Except
it, Mark.
I just asked for an operations definition. I think he really wants to know just what the term means.
Yeah, what
It just
what
means
is the term
means
mean?
constantly hovering around children.
Mhm.
Oh, so like the overprotective or like a
Yeah,
or
Mm.
something micromanaging parent?
yeah,
Yes.
that's what it means.
That is definitely true. Oh my god. You have no idea how many friends that I know they were like 4.0, the typical Asian kids, right? When they went to college, oh my god, they were drinking and doing everything all the time.
Wow.
You need to let loose.
Seriously
A
though,
lot of pent up.
Yeah,
This is-
I have this one friend I still remember, like really he really like a 4.4 student, right? When he got to college, he called me this one night. I was like, oh shit, I haven't talked to you in a long time. What's up, Willie? Like, hey, I'm partying it up. You want to get ready? Come through. I was like, oh, what?
Why does
Yeah,
every
man.
wait? Why does every Henry story end up with drinking and some? Never mind. I don't even want to get into
Yeah,
it.
that's-
Anyway,
Come on. Every
So-
good story starts with alcohol. You
Drinking.
know this.
that's
There's
true.
no good
drinking,
story starts
vomiting,
with the milk.
sex, either
That's
alone
true.
or in a group.
there's a reason why he's on a Wednesday midnight show now and not on this show on a regular anymore.
I think midnight's way too early.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think,
Nothing good happens past 2. Just remember that.
well,
Wow.
it depends on what age.
only thing open is them legs, huh? Okay.
That should be
Hello.
Henry's time slot.
Hey.
I don't know what.
And 3.
I was
Wow.
told that a lot growing up as a kid, Matthew, but as an adult, all my greatest things have happened at 2 a.m. So,
But hopefully
You got
inside
better
the
stories than
confines
me,
of
I can
home.
say that.
oh, Mark, I got you. No, but
Yeah.
seriously, back to the helicopter parents. I think there's a lot of parents that can be way too overbearing, whether in a good way, a positive way, or negative way. You know, over the whether you want to call it the correctiveness from their parents not doing enough. I don't know, but I know I was coaching this talent one time. She was a young girl, and she was so good. And then every time her mom was around, when she'd perform, her mom would be whispering in her ear, and she'd get all discouraged and not want to do anything. And we were on set, and the director finally said, "I love this girl, but I can't with her mom." Like they couldn't ban her mom from set. The girl was 8 years old, but they finally just had to replace her. They're like, "You're ruining it," because her mom was always trying to be there and involved. And I'm like, kept telling her, "Take a step back, but she never would.
I don't think there's
I
anything new. As far as young kids go, but in defense, it is difficult for a parent to know when to let go and when to help out and so forth. It's very, very easy to make that mistake, especially when the child is young. Like I said, I don't know if it's any worse today than it has been in the past. And I don't think this really applies to John's example, but I've seen it. I thought he was going to talk about sports, but he mentioned acting instead. But I've seen it so much in sports, in youth sports, in other areas as well, where it is parents competing against other parents through their children.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that says
Competition.
I'm not only trying to make my kid look good, I'm trying to make myself look good to that other parent over there.
Yeah, so Mark, going against that. So I played squash growing up. If you don't know what squash is, it's similar to like racquetball.
I've
But-
eaten some squash, but I never played it.
Yeah, right. But there would be literally parents outside of the squash court doing the motions with the kids while the kids are playing the game. And it's just like, okay, hold up, stop, sit down. You're not playing the game. Like, let the kid play the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like,
the dad or mom stand right behind home plate, while kids up there to bat, and a fastball whizzing at the guy's head, and dad's standing telling him how to hit, or in t-ball, a kid swings. Way to go, Johnny! You almost hit it that time. I mean, so that kind of stuff has gone on for a long time. Whether it's worse now, I don't know. I think, and I don't want to shift gears too much. If you want to go back to what we're talking about, fine. But in my little corner of the world, I think what is different in the university settings is when I was in university as an undergraduate, it just wasn't within the realm of possibility that you would ask your parent to get involved with a professor or to get involved with treating the professors like they're high school or elementary school students. And now we have these parents and students can sign these waivers. They call them Buckley forms, which allows professors to talk to parents. And some parents think it obligates professors to do that. And it's just something that it never was part of. It was not possible when I was an undergraduate to do that, and now it's commonplace.
Mark, I hate it because I will be coaching someone who's 24, and I'm like, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
If my dad or mom had to call for me and I'm 23 years old, I would literally, and I'm not trying to do some older guy railing on people who are younger. I'm just saying, I would literally be embarrassed if my mom or dad had to call in and fix a problem for me in a school I was at. Or, I mean, I have employees and I've had moms call me arguing about because I didn't give their child the day off, and I'm like, ma'am, first of all, your kid's 27. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I've seen even older. Yeah.
My baby, he's 27 years old.
Old enough.
I knew a guy who was working on his PhD and was flunking comp exams, and he was in his 30s. And I shit you not, mom called the associate dean up, intervening for her son. So that's been a long time ago too. So maybe it's really nothing new, but it just seems like it is. My favorite story, John, is going back to my days. And I'm sorry, Henry, but I was a probation officer in a previous life, so I know that makes you love me. But when I had a woman on probation once who was in her 30s, her mid 30s, on probation for drunk driving, and part of her condition of probation was that she do community service. And I kid you not, her mother came to the office with her, and with her daughter sitting there, asked me if she could do her daughter's community service for her.
What?
I'm not making this up. And I didn't even know where to start.
That's something else.
Except I said to myself, I think we found the problem here.
Wow. That's definitely a problem when you're trying to live your life. I saw somebody said parents trying to live their life, through their children. I mean, you can't. You can do it, but you shouldn't do it. I mean, if they let you do it, you should not do it. I've never tried to do that to my children like that. This is crazy.
I want to say something to what Mark said, and then Greg was trying to get in. When somebody else just said in the chat, parents don't know where the line is. I'm like, stop it. You're an adult. You know where the line is. You know where the line is. Like the example I gave on set, when the casting director, the director, the acting coach have all told you, hey, you're ruining this, take 3 steps back, and you keep taking 4 steps forward, you knew where the line was. It was shown to you. Just like you're talking about sports. How many videos, and to answer your question, is it worse now? No, I always say it just looks worse because we have cameras now. But, Little League softball and baseball fights didn't start with the cell phone. They used to happen way before. But you're watching grown-ass people getting fist fights over a T-ball game.
Yeah.
Fighting umpires because Johnny missed the T-ball and got called a strike. Now in some places, they get as many swings at the T-ball until they hit it because we don't want to negatively enforce them by telling them they did wrong by striking out.
Wow. This is crazy.
That's
know.
very similar to like everyone gets a participation award. Unfortunately,
Nah.
you need a little bit of tough love out there. Like, look, you had a bad game. Get back out there. That's what made me better. That would like anybody who played sports. That's the reason why we kept getting better is because, hey, I lost. I did X, Y, Z. It was on me. Let me get back out there, do some more drills, run something else so I can get better. That's the only way you can get better.
But Matt, let me just take issue with one thing. Now, I agree with most of what you just said, but you said about the participation trophy. Now, that is nothing new. I tell you, I mean, when I was in Little League, and this is a long time ago, my mother's basement still contains my participation trophies, and they were giving those things back in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, but Mark,
So that's nothing new. Now, but the thing you said about losing to get better, yeah, I get that. That's true.
Yeah, but no, everybody gets the participation.
Yeah, that's what it was when I was a kid. Yeah,
it's not a new thing, but Mark, there's a difference. I know what you're talking about. It's just like when they used to give out the ribbons, where first, second, and third got one color ribbon, and everybody else said participation. But I have participation trophies, but my participation trophy was this big. They're the same size as the guy that came in first.
That's great. That's crazy.
No, that's what I got too, though. And I mean, I don't think I was that exceptional.
You got a participation trophy that was the same size as the guy that came in first place?
Well, it was a team. It was a team sport.
That's different. I get what you're saying, but they're making it to where basically the person that came in 17th place is getting the same exact award. There's no difference except for the writing on it. That doesn't make any sense because what's my incentive to do better if I get rewarded the same?
Well, look, first off,
Yep,
let's do away with the trophies because all they do is collect dust and take up space. Mm-hmm. And after 6 months after you got them, you're sorry you got them. Your parents are stuck with them. Well, that's why mine are still in my mom's basement. I don't want them in my house. My wife sure doesn't.
Well, that's your fault. My dad threw away anything that was lower than runner-up.
But the trophy shops like it, so we keep them afloat.
I'm sure.
Hold on. I feel like Greg's been trying to jump in like double dutch and keep stepping over.
No, you guys are good. I was just going to ask, do we have any parents in the chat or on the panel? Parents? Okay. So parents, you guys know better than anybody, where is the line of letting adversity build up so that your kids can adapt and get better versus doing too much, being a helicopter parent?
I think that's the hard line. When he said
it is a very hard line.
I can always speak from the point of view of being the child of a helicopter parent. So I'm gonna wait to chime in on that.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
No, he asked you two first. Don't try to scapegoat.
Oh, okay.
Devin.
What are your guys' thoughts? You guys know better than anybody else.
Well, I don't think so, Greg. I don't really think I know better because it's a lot of it's trial and error, and there were times looking back on it when I probably should have done more, and times when I probably should have buttered out. I mean, I made plenty of mistakes at both extremes with both my kids. But again, there's no blueprint for how to be a parent in that respect. Now, I like to think that if it was so obvious, as John was pointing out in his little scenario, that I knew to step back, but I also probably didn't. I mean, I try to get my kid on the all-star team and stuff like that, get my kid on the right travel team, those kind of things. But I like to think, though, when they got to a certain age that, well, first off, there are some scenarios where you cannot save your child, no matter how much you want to. And some cases where you literally have to stop, and I mean this in a literal sense, stop bailing your child out.
Yeah.
But I've known some parents, though, that if their child's an addict or just addicted to a life of crime, that they never stop. And it ruins a bunch of lives when they do that. But knowing when to do that is very difficult.
This is really good because me as a parent, I try my best to help my children. I try to steer them the right way to go, and if I see trouble, just like even if I wasn't a parent, if I just love someone, I'm saying, hey, there's trouble coming, look out, and after a while, after you tell them that, and they still don't want to listen. You got to let it go. You got to let them grow up and make the same mistakes. Well, not necessarily the same mistakes, but let them have the the option of making a mistake, just like you had the option of making a mistake. You can't sit there and try to micromanage their life when no one micromanage yours. It's crazy. I mean, but just like Mark is saying, no book came with parenting. I mean, lo and behold, I'm a parent. So I didn't go through no no parenting class or something.
Oh, I saw that all those James Thompson videos before I became a parent. Didn't do any damn good.
I'm gonna tell you what I told my parent. Listen, you get the excuse to screw up the first one, okay? You gotta do better. You gotta do better on the second one. But if you're still terrible parenting on the third, fourth, and fifth one, there's a time you need to stop.
Stop having children. Leave it to the pros.
Yeah, the first one is your mulligan, all right? That's your mulligan.
Oh gosh.
Hey, but Mark, I want to ask both of you a question since you're parents. Is it, for instance, in my line of work, when I'm trying to get the parents to let the kid go through adversity, because my scenario was a little bit about adversity, I'll notice the dads are more willing, not say all, but the dads are usually more willing to let them fail. And the moms are always like, my baby, I gotta say it. Like, mom, stop it, moms.
That's why you hear the term stage mom, but not stage dad very often.
When it becomes daddy's little girl, that can be a little different,
Oh, yeah.
When dealing with your oldest son versus your daughter, when it comes from a father. And the same with moms. I notice moms are harder on the girls, but they baby the boys, whereas dad are tough on the boys and they're softer on the baby girls. So
but I think probably in your line, John, I think you deal with the stage moms, but I think in athletics and sports, particularly if it's a boy, you're probably more likely to encounter the stage dads there as well.
Not necessarily.
I didn't say always. I didn't say always.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Helicopter.
Hey! Mark's like, why is everybody attacking me?
I got to get this in. This is important. The fate of the planet hangs on this.
It's a lot of moms.
I mean, but I'm just saying that compared to the acting realm, the dad's more likely to be too active in sports than they are in acting.
It's a lot of moms fighting on YouTube at softball and baseball games, Mark.
Yeah,
And I've been one of them.
Softball and volleyball, yeah.
I don't
Put
think
her back in the game.
I've been anywhere without having a problem we've learned on this show. Whether it's a restaurant, a hotel, no matter where she goes, there's an altercation.
I've put my son back in the game. Why you take him out? No, really. But I wasn't too, I didn't know.
Devin,
yelling at a kid on the other team too. That's always great.
Devin was trying to talk about being the son of a helicopter parent.
Oh yeah. Very much suffocating. This word's appropriate enough. It's like you can't do anything, and then when you try to do something, and they're in like an eye's view of you, you ain't getting away with nothing. It's not even like you're trying to get away with anything. As far as like you said, John, stage mom, back up 3 steps. They don't take that initially because they're like, oh, I know what's best for my child. But in reality, it's like, Mom, back the F up. Like, I'm being choked here. You're not letting me do my thing. I went through that with my parent or mom, at least. That's why I was like, when I was performing in high school, I would have loved to have my mom there, but it felt like every time I would do better. Instead of I would, it'd be like, oh, she's silently judging me from the audience and I can hear everything she's saying, even though she's not next to me. Yeah, that's really helicopter, especially in a Christian household. Growing up, it's like, oh, if you can't do what you can do in front of God, you know what's wrong. What do you mean? I'm just trying to like live my life, go hang out with some friends or something. What time you gonna be back? Who you with? You don't know him? Why?
Hey, wait. Are you talking about now or when you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager. That's what I'm saying.
Appropriate. Oh, come on. That's appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like when I turned 18, 19, 20, I still got it. I still got it up until I was about like 21. I started drinking.
Wait.
Until you move out of the house, you're gonna get it.
Were you living in the house?
I was on and off living at the house. I would be at the house. I moved in and I moved out when I was 19, and then I stayed gone. So I was like 21. Came back, and then when I came back, it was like, because sometimes things happen.
Oh my
and
God.
you know, end up on the best
all
of terms.
credibility. You
Left
lost
again, and
No, but
ever
I'm
since
saying,
I left
I
again,
think what
it's
we're
like,
saying is that
free-
yeah,
free
those things happen. I do understand that really. I'm not being judgmental here, but you put yourself back in the role of child when you move back in the house.
Yes.
You have to accept that.
shoot,
Because I had a very
to the
I had a
parents, though,
conversation.
grown.
I had
to
a
the
conversation
parent,
with one of my
baby.
parents because the three of us were hanging out, and his problem was his mom said he can't have guests over. And I'm like, well, the other friend was like, well, I can't have guests over either, but I don't pay bills. I just live in my mom's house. You pay rent and half the utilities. At that point, you're a tenant.
Hello, and that's what I was facing. Thank
For
you,
sure.
John.
When I moved back to my dad's house for 5 months when I first got out of the army because I was transitioning, and I said, "Hey, what are the rules?" He said, "Rules." He's like, "You're paying me." He's like, he said, "I'd be damned if I moved in with somebody and paid them half rent, and they told me I can't have anybody ever at a certain time."
See, and that's what I'm saying. When I went back and I said, "Mom, I'll help you pay the bills. I'll help you do whatever," because she knew I was working. So what's the point
No,
of
no,
me
no,
trying
no.
to
Listen
do
to what you
different?
said. Listen to what you said. You said, "I'll help you." That's not what I told my dad. I said, "Dad, here's rent. You said, I'll help you." You gave her the option.
I wouldn't have had an option. I just said it so it wouldn't look so humiliating willingly. She was going to tell me, "You're going to pay rent here." I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll help you pay. I don't care. I know
Okay,
I work. You know I work."
When you were 14 and 15, she's supposed to ask those questions. So
Yeah,
But if you think about it, even if you paying some of the bills, if you know that your mom does not like a certain thing, why don't you go somewhere else? I mean, you don't have to move in there with your
because I'm paying
parents.
bills. I'm a tenant.
I
have
know,
no, I'm a tenant.
but if you know that a certain place don't like a certain thing, then why would you want to go move in there? I mean, go somewhere else.
Because it's cheaper.
Hey, it's
Sure.
a double
Yeah,
contract.
right.
You accepted the money. You
You have
accepted
to
the pay.
come together.
You know, yeah, you knew. Listen, we talked. That's what I'm saying. These are discussions we have. I just said me and my dad had the discussion when I moved in. This is what I'm paying. What are the rules? He said, "Rules, you're paying rent. So if you're gonna pay rent to live here, you're a tenant. I know you're my son, but you're a tenant. You can't make me pay you $1,000 a month and half the electric, and then tell me I can't have friends in my room."
right.
Yep,
So
that
what
makes
if
no
you
sense.
what if you
Oh,
have
boy.
friends?
What
What if
was
you have
going on?
friends hanging over to like you playing loud music to like
What was
about
going
1
on
or
in
2
that
o'clock in the
room?
morning?
Well, Lisette, at that point, it doesn't have to do with parents. Whether if it's me and Henry were roommates, that's still rude. It doesn't have to do with parents.
Yeah.
My friend I wouldn't want a roommate where it's
Common
3 o'clock
courtesy
in the
about
morning
it.
and they're blasted music and drinking and partying still if I'm not in the party. So it's the same thing.
I mean, that's more like a common courtesy, you know.
That's being a good roommate.
You just, yeah, you.
What
you just
Lisette
don't
is trying to get to,
down music.
Henry, is she don't want me good love, body rocking, knocking boots in the house, even though I'm paying rent. That's what she's trying
There
to
No,
you go. Ding,
I
ding,
probably
ding.
it just depends, but no, just like you said, common courtesy. If you paying rent, I don't see where I have anything to do about that. You know what I'm saying? But something's just rude. I mean, I'm trying to sleep and it's 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. You got loud music. I'm saying like, what?
Yeah. Of
You know,
course.
What
I mean,
planet are you on?
You
But
know,
if you pay rent to an apartment or anything, there are rules you have to abide by there as well. I just stayed in an Airbnb over the weekend, and there were rules we had. You
Yeah.
couldn't party
Mhm.
loud and stuff like that. Had to clean the place up and so forth, even though we
Yeah.
were
Quiet
paying.
hours
Exactly.
in my last apartment, 10 o'clock was cut off time. Anyone playing loud music, you couldn't even go in the pool, no nothing. 10
Same with
o'clock, that
hotels.
was it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah. Hotels are the same way. You can't keep everybody up at night in a hotel.
Very true.
My question is this: what makes a helicopter parent a helicopter parent? I mean,
Hovering.
You know,
what's going on in there?
so back to that. You know what I found out from all the good Asian people that I met and whatnot, and experience. The more the parents say no, the more the kid going to do it. And especially, I mean, this is especially true. We all been young, right? You know the time that we actually spend with our dad and mom after high school. I mean, like in high school and whatnot. It's very less compared to the time that they spend with their friends, because they go from school from like what 8 to 2, and then the parents don't come home until like 5 or 6, right?
Mhm.
So you can't really stop him from having a bad influence. But when you have the bad influence, the more no you tell him, they're gonna do it, man. Shit.
Why do you want to do it?
I mean, that's the truth.
That
So
is.
you're not there 24/7 to actually keep an eye on him. I mean, even if you do, I mean, we were all young before, right? In
Right.
high school, you have to do something stupid to be cool. You know what I mean?
No, Mark was born
You have
this
to
old.
do something.
No, Mark was born this old.
Mark not Benjamin Button.
No,
So
it took
for
years to
for
get
you to
there.
kind of fit in with the cool people and stuff like that, you have to do something stupid. And of course, every stupid thing you do is one of those things that your mom and dad will tell you, no, don't do it. But guess what? You're gonna do it because you want to fit in, right?
Yes, but there are some
It's true.
things that my mom and dad told me not to do that I did not do. I mean,
Oh, I mean, of course, there's a limit, like stealing,
Hold
or
on.
like like
Speaking of
fucking.
things, Mark said there are things that people tell you what not to do and what to do. I remember a whole couple months ago when Weenie did his first weekly market update. He told us what was going to happen to our retirement money, and we didn't listen. Speaking of that, let's get
You
into
guys listen, maybe.
weekly market
Why?
update.
We have to bring that up.
Alrighty, hello. Welcome to Weenie's Weekly Market Update, where I talk about what happened in the stock market last week, the last time I was on here, and what I'm looking for in the market this week, along with technical analysis and trading tips along the way. So it should be a shorter Weenie's Weekly Market Update today. Not a lot has really happened. And yeah, as Coyote was saying, this is a daily chart of the SPY. So this is the S&P 500. This is just what people think of when you say stock market. It mostly tracks most 401ks. And this on our x-axis, we have our time, and then on our y-axis, we have price, right? And right over here, this is a daily time frame. So this is early August. This is when we started our Weenie's Weekly Market Update. And I was saying, hey, the market is more likely to drop and sell off over the next few months into spooky season. And what's spooky season for the market? Well, it's September and October. Those are notoriously poor performing months, meaning the market is more likely to drop during those months than not. Does it mean that the market has to drop? No, but it's just more likely to. And I was showing a way that you could hedge your long-term portfolios or your 401ks if you open up a broker account, a brokerage account. It could be Robinhood, Webull, Thinkorswim, Fidelity, E-Trade, whatever you want to execute your investment decisions on. And again, none of this is financial advice, but we're talking about SPXS, and this goes up when the market goes down. And right here at this blue little zone, that's where I was buying SPXS. And just the other day, we had CPI, which just really talks about inflation throughout the United States. And of course, it was a negative report, meaning there was a little bit more inflation than was expected, and the market had sold off. And I took the take profit on that SPXS trade just the other day. So super cool stuff, because that was a way that you could potentially like hedge your long-term portfolio without actually having to sell or go through those tax gains. So something interesting to just talk about. So because I took profits on the thing that goes up when the market goes down, that means I'm expecting the market to go up just a little bit for the next coming weeks. And actually, if I go into some trend line drawings right here, you can draw trend lines and it just connects 2 points. So do you see where those 2 points connect? The more points that we connect on a trend line, the more valid it is. So point 1, point 2, okay, that's kind of our downtrend line. So the primary trend in the market is down. that means we can expect the market over a longer period of time to continue to sell off until we break those trends. But short term, even shorter term, like this week, we are actually starting to go a little bit up. And I was talking a little bit about patterns and how whatever the impulse move is, so we went straight up and then we went sideways. If you go sideways, think we have continuation in that same direction. And that's likely going to continue in the market. So this week, I'm expecting the market to probably bounce, maybe another 2 to 3% into this week and into next week, but then resume the overall downtrend. So it's pretty cool today because we can actually profit when the markets go sideways. So my Weenie Trades Trade Alert people, we closed an 87% gain off an Iron Condor. And this is an advanced option strategy that profits when the market goes sideways. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of ways to make money in the market. But also this week we have earnings. So we have Netflix reporting earnings this week. So basically earnings reports are just kind of like, what's the report card for the company? How many people are watching Netflix? How many people are Netflix and chilling? And how many people are sharing the Netflix password? If more people are sharing the Netflix password, Netflix earnings may have a bad reaction because they're not making as much money as people thought. And the stock could drop big or it could go up big if the numbers are good. So earnings reports, pretty interesting. These stocks will likely move pretty big this week. And you can watch me trade them at Weenie Trades Live. Tesla also reports earnings. How many people are buying new Tesla cars? The last time I was on Weenie's weekly market update, I said you can profit off of Tesla dropping by buying TSLQ. This goes up when Tesla goes down. And TSLQ, up about 17% since we talked about that. So super cool stuff on Tesla. And so if you think Tesla's going to do well, maybe it pops. But again, Teslas are a pretty luxury type of vehicle. And we're in the thick of it in the recession right now. So deep recession. So we got Snapchat as well. Snapchat earnings are this week. So keep an eye out for something like that. AT&T is also reporting earnings. Snapchat's gotten destroyed, just like Netflix has gotten destroyed from its highs. Netflix came down from $700 a share all the way down to 162. So there's a lot of risks in the market. And of course, we got AT&T reporting earnings this week. And then we also got Verizon. So we got some cell phone providers reporting earnings this week. And then lastly, just a potential quick trade idea. DKS, Dix. I know this is Weenie Trades. Dix might have an actual short setup, meaning you can profit off of Dix dropping, Dix Sporting Goods. So it's an interesting chart pattern that could break bearish if Dix breaks underneath $106 per share. That's all I have in today's Weenies weekly market update. We got earnings and we got a spooky market. Let's get back to the show.
It's always great to get a report on long dicks and short dicks and dicks dropping. So
I hate to say it. I hate the love about dicks dropping. That's
So let's get a couple comments from the chat. Oh, Ken Stevenson says, my mom was a helicopter parent. Clarence says, Clarence says, Lisette, ? And Ken Stevens says, it did make me want to be defiant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Until like senior year of high school. And then Neon.
I'm just glad to hear his dick's not dropping is all. That's right.
Neon says rules and restrictions cause a desire of freedom. And in order to achieve that, some feel rebellion is the only option. Listen, if teenagers being rebellious is a new thing for you, then you don't understand humanity. Okay.
100% true.
Let me answer to that. Let me answer to that. My son saying that I was rebellious. I mean, that I was a helicopter parent.
Wait, Lisette, before you start ranting, you have to remember, because every parent seems to forget. I have to remind my mom and my sisters. Me and my sisters tell my mom certain things. She goes, no. How they viewed themselves being raised is going to be different than how you remember raising them. Okay.
I was a helicopter parent up to a point because I wanted them to be
Wait,
safe.
What point?
He said
Well,
that. Senior
Yeah,
year.
what's the point? Where the line
Let's see let's get
I-
your son on here. See if you say two different numbers here.
I did not want, if he likes to, do a lot of rapping and stuff. So I didn't want him to, I let him go out and do his little rapping to the socials, but I knew that he was very good, and I didn't want there to be like retaliation, getting a whole lot of jealousy. And I says, well, at a certain time, I'm pulling you out. I'm gonna come pick you up. I'm sorry. Up to about, I think it was like 11. You got to come home. He was in high school. You can't be staying out after 12 and all that stuff. No, just won't go
Well,
happen.
that's reasonable. High school kid outside after 12. I mean, there's nothing crazy in that, but I'm thinking you're leaving a lot of more of the helicopter stuff he was probably talking about. This is the
Yep.
good parenting version
That's
of
hilarious.
helicopter.
I mean, your kid, you're gonna be in trouble. I mean, no, the kid gonna be in trouble when he brings home a girlfriend or a wife. You're gonna be like, oh, nah, honey.
Oh
You
no.
don't love him the way I do.
You know what? I wouldn't do that. Hey, you love who you love. Now, my parents they were the helicopter parents right there. I mean, they told me, you're not gonna get married. You're not gonna marry this person, that person, which I married him anyway. But I'm just saying,
Wait, me and Mark were on here when you talked about your parents being a helicopter parents a bunch of episodes ago, and you immediately followed it up with how much you snuck out. Remember that, Mark?
Mother like daughter at this point.
I don't think that
Why
first husband,
you-
she was too happy with him either.
Yes.
No, I wasn't, but
And they told you
know
not to
what?
marry him, right?
Huh?
They
What'd
told
you
you not
say,
to marry
Mark?
him.
Yeah,
My
they told me
parents-
not to marry
My
him.
parents never knew I snuck out because I knew exactly when to put sleeping stuff in their drinks. So they never knew I snuck out. Okay. Wait, we have an update. Ken said she would come to social and have the DJ say it over the loudspeaker. And she was out. Lisette!
Oh,
Sorry,
no.
baby. I don't remember doing that.
Lisette!
See, and that's where
I bet
amnesia of a helicopter parent comes from. That one embarrassing thing they did. Oh, I didn't do that. I know what you
I don't- I
Meanwhile,
honestly-
the
No,
kids
it
are-
happens.
Kids are going like, "Oh God, that happened."
If
I
they make
remember
that face, it happened, and it's scarring them in the moment.
And you know the
I'm
DJ
sorry.
knows
Yeah,
how
flashback.
embarrassing. The DJ knows how embarrassing it is, so they put a little emphasis on. They're like, Keone Stevens, your mom says she's outside.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't know I did that to him. I'm sorry, I just did not know.
Just imagine. This is what I
Yeah.
used to always think about parents. Imagine this happening to you. How would you react?
That's the
Not
thing.
in your present mind, though. Think of
That's
a
the thing.
13, 14, 15-year-old.
My parents wouldn't
always
have let me
forget
to the
that they used
social.
Parents always forget that they used to be in high school and they know how treacherous high school is. And yet you do something. DJ.
It's the
I'm
blueprint.
I just didn't want to get in no trouble because there was some gang violence and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
I was afraid for him.
Wait. So you think the way to keep the gangs from messing with him is for them to hear that his mommy was waiting for him outside.
outside waiting.
I'm sorry,
They're
kid.
running out of there. I gotta get out now.
All right. How about that?
That's
I'm
going to
so
make
sorry.
the gang members pick at him even more.
True.
Mama
Yeah,
Yep.
probably did. I just was afraid for him. The neighborhood, I was afraid. I'm
I
sorry.
was about to say, if you want to join this gang, you gotta have a note from home.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. I know.
Oh,
If you're
that's
fine.
sweet. That's
Oh,
sweet.
yeah.
I was afraid for him, but I would let him go some places. I just didn't let him stay out too long when all the trouble start pumping and be hip. I was afraid for because I knew he was very intelligent. He had he wanted to go to school and do some things, and I didn't want to get I didn't want him to get involved in the gangs and stuff. So in that case,
Yet his mom used to sneak out and go to the juke joint. When
Come on, you joint. Come on, you joint.
I didn't do that. I might have sneaked out
She was out cutting the
and got
rug.
with my boyfriend or
Well-
something, but no, at the time, but no.
Did
I
you
tried to
It
assume,
was
be
a lot easier for
did
us
you
to all
assume
sneak
that
out
if you
then
let him
because
out,
we
he'd
didn't
join a
have
gang?
phones back then.
It was
Well,
the
I
Parents
thought-
be
I
tracking
just thought the gang would try to
phones
bounce
nowadays,
out
and it's
something.
just like really.
So what you say, Matthew?
I said we all had it easier back in the day because we didn't have smartphones and we couldn't be tracking our kids and everything. Like I know
yeah,
a
it's
couple
next
people have
level
their
now.
kids like GPS location, especially when they're driving too. Monitors
down
the
at
speed, where they're going.
Yeah, that.
You text them, oh, I saw you
Yeah.
going 62 and a
There's
55.
like slow
You need to
down.
slow
There's
down.
like
Oh,
That-
we're learning
that
so
is the
much
thing.
about the set in this chat. Mom, I snuck out of the house for my prom during junior year. Chris and Jarius helped me sneak out the window.
Well, I never.
My mom's favorite word was no.
Wow. Dang.
I'm so sorry. I'm
Shade.
so sorry. I'm so into the oh no.
Wow.
I want to have to deal with it. All right. Go to your room. No, you stayed in your room a lot.
What are the negative
He's doing
effects?
this right here. He didn't care.
We know the positive effects of, and everybody listening, we're not trying to sit here and say parents shouldn't have rules and you can't have standards. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the overbearing ones and parents having guidelines, rules, being strict when warranted. We know what that does, and that can help a kid. A kid's going to turn out how they turn out. I don't know why anybody's figured that out yet. There's been some really strict parents that have raised psychopaths and really strict parents that have raised awesome kids. So they're going to turn out how they turn out because when you become an adult, you make a decision to be a good person or an asshole. Okay. So, but what are some of the negative effects? And I want to start with Mark because Mark teaches. He's a professor in college, so he deals with people in that 18 to 24 range a lot more than anyone else on here. What are the negative effects? Can you tell? Because I can tell when I'm coaching someone, I can tell if, oh God, I could tell their parent was overbearing when I'm coaching them. Can you tell?
Well, it depends. Not when you deal with students in the classroom, but when I used to deal with students who, when it came time to do an internship, I was the internship coordinator, and that's sometimes when mom and dad would get overly involved. When I'd have a meeting of the students, potential interns, and on a rare occasion, a parent would show up with the student to get that information, or they would call me or email me, and I would say the same thing. Please talk to your son or daughter. I'm going to deal with them. And now, if you want to help the kid get an internship through a connection or something like that, that's fine. But I try to draw that line. And it wasn't, sometimes it was the kids who would go running to mommy and daddy and crying, but more often than not, it was mommy and daddy being a helicopter parent. And I'd even say to the students, there's a picture out there of a helicopter parent, a cartoon. And I would say, I will not deal with your parents, period. Don't have them call me. Don't have them email me. I think that one consequence of helicopter parenting, whether the child is older or younger, and I don't mean to be too critical, because it's hard to say where to draw that line, is that we're being afraid to allow people to fail in life. And as I think Matthew was saying a while ago, failure is a part of life, and you learn by failing. Now, the question becomes, at what point do you let a child fail versus allowing them to do something that will irreparably harm or kill them? You know, walking off that cliff. It's hard to know where to draw that line.
I would say that point is when they won't listen to you anymore. When they won't listen, the point is to draw the line. I mean, that's it. Okay, I did the best I could. I can. So you won't listen. You're grown. Do what you do. Do you?
Mark, that thing you were talking about, because when I get a call sometimes, I've had to deal with parents sometimes, and it's like they're irate about something, and I'm like, well, did your son tell you this? No. Well, did they tell him this? No. And what about that they had to do this? No. And that they had to do this? No. Well, your son's 26. Ask him all these questions because you're yelling at me, and now you're finding out he didn't do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Well, and John, sometimes you find out that the child makes a better choice than a parent does anyway. Yeah. I think back when my daughter was in high school, she was still a kid. She was in high school, And I talked to her into taking a certain class. I said, "You'll love this class. It was my favorite class in high school. I'm sure you'll love it too."
That's
She
always
took it and
That's
did not like it. And
Yes.
so it was wrong of me to steer her into that class because I thought, because I liked it. And I've seen it over and over again. Sometimes when it comes to
Is she similar to you though?
she is in some ways, but it was a drama class actually, and that's she's similar to me in personality, but she didn't like drama. Getting up in front of groups and talking and acting is just not her thing. It just didn't work out. So sometimes that child, they know themselves better than you know them.
Yeah, because I know a lot of parents that'll say you're gonna love playing football or love playing this because I did, and then they end up. Also, that thing we talked about before in one of our parenting episodes, when we're talking about the good parents don't treat every kid the same,
Right.
because the good parents understand each kid has a different personality.
Right.
Not just kids. You can't just look at them as kids. They're kids, but each one of them has a different personality. Like, I know my nephew, when my nephew and niece were younger, and I used to look after them, you could smack my niece around, yell at her, scream, ground her, do whatever you want. None of that mattered. But if you said the words to her, "I'm disappointed," oh, you could have sworn you stabbed her with a knife. And my nephew, his thing was taking away his stuff. That's what killed him. You could ground him, you could spank him, you could do all of that, but each one of them had a different way to be gotten to because of their personalities. Each one of them had a different way to be pushed in the sports that they played. One you needed to yell at. I was one of those people you had to yell at. You had to yell at me. You couldn't nice talk me into motivating me in sports. But my other nephew, you've got to put the kid gloves on. Hey, look, this is what you did wrong. But the bigger nephew, you had to basically wring his neck, and then he went out there and balled. So
the different leadership styles will back that up. Like say in baseball, since you said that, I mean, there's I know we're getting a drift here, but some managers lead successfully by lighting a fire into people, and some lead by being good cheerleaders. But they're equally effective. I think say Lou Piniella versus Brian Snitker, for example.
Yeah.
But I've seen with students who try to pick a major in college, and their parents try to steer them into a major because it's what they did or what they think is best for them. When you're much better off, let the kid pick something they like.
Yes.
And that's a very common mistake.
Matthew, that's a good one, because I had a friend and his dad was an accountant. He was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be an accountant." And he's like, I hate math. Like, he wanted to draw. He was a painter. He was an artist. And it's like, you need to cultivate his creativity. He doesn't want to be crunching numbers and doing all of that. But he kept trying to he got a degree in accounting or whatever it's called, and he never worked an accounting job a day in his life.
Well, John, I know I have a friend who they told their son, he was really into acting in high school. And he wanted to major in acting, drama, where he went to school, university. And they said, "We are not going to pay for you to go major in theater at a university."
Wow.
And they tried to steer him into business. And I tried to tell him, I said, "Look, now, if he tries an acting career, chances are he's not going to succeed. That's true. All right, it's highly competitive. But let him develop his natural talents for entertainment, for selling, what have you. And those will come in handy in the business world in some form. Suppose it's a motivational speaker, okay? A lot of that's acting. And so the main thing is let the kid major in something that he or she wants to do. I knew two sets of parents who had that very battle with their child who wanted to major in theater, and they wanted to major in something that was quote unquote practical, and it was a mistake.
Now, that's like me. My mom, she wanted to, go to nursing school, so I, signed up for nursing, got accepted in the program, and flunked out. I mean, because I didn't want to do that. I want to go to art school. I'm an artist, So.
And every patient breathes a collective sigh of relief.
I didn't want to do it.
At least you knew that, though.
For you, Lisette. Here we go. Here's some fun. Let's put some fun before this ends. Henry, what did your parents want you to be? And what happened?
I mean, of course, I'm still Asian, right?
Yeah, you still
I mean,
are. I
of
don't
course,
think you've changed.
every Asian parent want their kid to be like a doctor and lawyer. It's the normal shit, you know. And then, of course, I kind of drifted real far from that.
No shit, really?
Obviously, yeah.
Couldn't
Can
tell.
you imagine if Henry? Wait, picture this. You go in there and Henry's your doctor and Lisetta's the nurse.
Oh my god.
Oh God.
Matthew's been on this show.
Wanna.
This is the
And
first day on the show.
John's your chaplain.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even. Matthew's been on this show one time and he already just went, holy cow.
Yeah, it's just like yeesh.
He ain't heard nothing yet.
You know what's interesting? How some kids will say, you know, you was talking about, you know, children, it's amazing to me how maybe a kid turns out to be kind of wacky crazy up there, and then they blame that their father, they didn't have a father, so that's why I went and killed somebody. You know, I went and robbed the store because I didn't have a father. You know, there's a lot of people that didn't have a father that go out and commit crime. You know, so
Yeah.
You think that
So
was
I can
because
relate
of
to
the
that.
helicopter?
I had my dad. My dad was a good dad. So
I don't think it's just that simple of them saying they did crime because they didn't have a father. What they're saying that they don't have 20 hours to explain is there are certain things that may have happened in their life if they had a father present. Like, for instance, if the mom or like both my sisters are single moms and they got their kids into all the sports, you know, they played. But it is different. You're talking to a guy. It is different when my mom is at my baseball game than when my dad is at my softball game as a baseball game as a boy. You know, that's
For
kind
sure.
of the stuff you're talking to. Those things they didn't learn directly from their father. They may have learned those things from other males. Maybe they got into crime because their uncle was a thief. Or
it depends on who the dad is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
Yeah. And then you have some, like they say, a lot of people who commit crimes against women. They've had moms who were just overbearing and abusive, and so there's so many things that go into it. Just
A lot of
like
variables.
people,
I'm talking about the ones that just
The
throw it out
environment.
there, just throw it out there. They use it for every crime, and there's all these millions of people that didn't have fathers. You know
Yeah,
that
I just explained why. They're using, that's the, what do they call it? Micro and macro. That's the macro. I didn't have a father, but there's onions to what they're saying of I didn't have a father. Yeah, there's thousands and thousands of people out there who didn't have fathers who did good, but every situation is different. Maybe they had an oversupportive mother. Maybe they were in a Big Brother program. Maybe they had an uncle who stepped in. Maybe they were on the football team and had a good football coach. There's a bunch of different variables that happen. And all they're saying is, and they're not lying, everyone's life on this panel could be different if something was changed in their life.
Yeah.
We're all the way we are because of the way our life was set up.
and that's
We go
something.
back and change one variable. Who knows? If I was raised by my dad instead of my mom, I might not be batshit crazy. Okay.
Wow,
Bill.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing point.
That's called a
It's
butt
amazing
fight,
there. That's an amazing point that you just.
Well, and also
Amazing.
Keone indicated that sometimes, because you know, there's a lot of research on delinquency, and one of the factors that does, you know, kind of correlate with, you know, having a criminal record is being from a single parent family. But it also depends on who the parents are. As John indicated, that if dad might be someone the kid is better off without, quite frankly, in some cases.
Yeah.
That's true.
But there are plenty of people in prisons and jails that come from intact 2-parent families too. But you got one. You do have one strike against you if you're raised in a single parent household. Now that doesn't mean you're going to strike out.
Right.
If
Right.
you do start out with one strike against you, that's true.
Because you could have the single mom who's better off, like Mark was saying, without the dad. But you have some single moms that are trying to do the right thing, but I've known single moms with 3 jobs. They don't have the ability to watch every single thing their kid is doing or be at the game. Why? Because they're trying to keep the lights on.
Absolutely.
Trying to keep the
Right.
rhythm.
And
I've
God bless them.
And
Yeah.
that's with me, because I had to raise my children without a father,
Yeah.
and so the fathers was not in place. So therefore I had to raise them without a father. And that's one of the reasons why I was so protective, because, I can't let you, I can't let a young man think they're gonna, beat me down. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, you got to be
Oh,
mom
I'm
and dad.
looking at Ken Stevens. Ken ain't. Come on now.
But he was not that kind of person. He
Come
was
on.
not that kind of. But it was a fear. I did not. I felt like I had to be strong. I had to be stern because he didn't have that father figure to help him. Even though his father was somewhere else, in his life, but he wasn't living with his father, so he lived with me. So therefore, I had to be stern. So try to keep him in, from going. But then at the same time, he wasn't like that. He was a good kid.
Yeah, he didn't have that theme song like Devin used to have when Devin was a teenager. I had no daddy around when I was growing up. That's why.
No, sorry. First of all, I did. I had both my parents. Thank you very much. So that's where you're wrong. Okay.
Damn, so what happened? Okay, to Mark's point, you can't have two parents and still. No, I'm just kidding.
One of these days, I'm gonna just come to this camera and just give it to you. No, but
camera,
having
go
both
to-
parents.
I'll
I
do
mean,
show.
Go to
Right.
Morrisville and give it to him. That's where he lives.
oh, thank you. All right.
3000
I'll
Bristol
talk
Creek
to you real
Drive,
soon
North
for further
Carolina,
details on the address. Thank you.
27560.
You got a great little sports bar there, by the way.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like a sports bar. But speaking from from the point of view of the child of a helicopter parent,
Oh, here we go.
I have both parents. My dad wasn't the helicopter parent. My dad was like, "You gonna do what you gonna do? I already know. You mine." Like he asked me, he's like, "You know I started drinking." He's like, "Yeah, I know you started drinking because you my son. I already knew." Okay, let me do my thing. But my mom, "Oh, you started drinking now? Oh, you drinking this, that. Where are you going?" I'm like, "What? Mom, I'm 21, 22. Why are you still giving me the third degree?" Like,
Well, you know what, Devin? I found it hard too, because like my grandmother and other people that grew up really religious, as soon as they hear, like I'm 20, I'm from 22. I'm from Miami. So when I go to the bar, I'm gonna have a drink. The devil's nectar.
There we go.
And
And then with that, it's like my parents. I think both of my parents they treated me to be very different from like growing up. My
You
dad
think?
thought I was going to be like, I guess more like him. He had me dressed like him when I was little. Got the Timberlands on. Like I was fresh with my dad always. I was fresh with my mom too, but my mom, she bought me the more posh clothes like Express and college shirts and all the nice
Damn.
pants. Like they both had a very different picture of me. And I don't think it turned out anything like this. See, that was tough. Especially my mom. I think my mom always wanted me to be more masculine. And she was like, "Oh, you need to do this. Men do this. I didn't raise a girl." Da, 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 da. I'm like, all right, well, this is who I am. So
that was my point earlier about your kids you can try very hard to mold someone into the ideal adult.
mhm.
But think about that. You're trying to mold a child into an ideal adult. Just think about that for a second. And then I said this at a high school once. I was at a high school talking, and some of the teachers got it. Some of the teachers hated that I said this. I said, how funny do teenagers find it that adults are telling you to be responsible, be accountable, and make better decisions as you constantly watch adults online make poor decisions and around you?
Wow.
You're constantly watching the same people who telling you need to
Yeah.
grow up and be an adult, and then you're watching all these adults out here make asses of themselves. So final thought time, Lisette.
All right. Final thoughts. Who want to start first? What about you, Henry? Final thoughts.
Helicopter parents. I mean, my final thought is there is absolutely no way any parent can control what their kid do in the end. Maybe in the early age, but trust me, whether it's a boy or girl, right? After they get raised, they would be way different. They'll be uncontrollable.
I can see that. I really can see that. What about you, Matthew?
Helicopter's parents at this point, I mean, the kids are going to do it one way or another. I mean, let them make the mistakes when they're younger and, you know, maybe not have such severe repercussions. Meanwhile, while they're older, they could do XYZ and it could be really bad for them. You know, mistakes are where you learn. So let them kind of make the mistakes. And then if it is going to start going down a bad path, that's when the parenting really comes in. It's just like, hey, you're going down a path that's not good. Let's steer you in the right direction.
Okay. Devin?
Let your child breathe. Give them some space to actually be themselves so that you can help them in the future. Let the child come to you rather than you always intruding on what they got going on. Because if you don't, your child won't want to tell you anything. I'm based off experience. I'm not going to want to tell you anything if you're just constantly in my business. I'm thinking you already know. So, yeah, just let that be a good space between the parent and the child, and let the child get some help whenever they need it.
That's good. Keone, you want to go?
Yeah, stop helicoptering. When you're so micromanaging your helicoptering, you're raising a person who can't deal with adversity. They're gonna, as an adult, every time something goes wrong, they're gonna fall apart. And maybe you have some parents out there that love that they always have to play cat and save a hoe when their child is always messing up. I can't stand helicopter parents. Maybe that's why when I joined the Army, my first job was air defense, so I could shoot that shit down. Yeah, I moved out of my house when I was around 14 or 15 years old. So me and my best friend used to do this thing where I never really moved out, right? I moved out, but I didn't move out. What we would do is we'd stay at my grandfather's house for about 2 weeks. Oh, we're staying over here, and my best friend's staying over. Once we realized the jig was almost up, we stayed at his house. Mm-hmm. And once they realized, hey, Keone's been here, before they could say, Keone's been here a long time without going home, we go to his sister's house. So we kept this rotation during our junior and senior year. So I kind of had because once my dad was gone, it was me and two sisters, and living in a house with 3 women was driving me fucking insane.
Bless your heart.
That's their heart.
Mark, what about you? What's your final thoughts?
I don't think my parents are really helicopter parents. They, in my opinion, they did a pretty good job of kind of knowing when to let go. So I really can't speak from that kind of experience. I can just speak from experience of a parent myself and say, look, I did the best I could. And, maybe in some respects, I was not attentive enough to certain things. In some ways, I was probably I was a bit of a helicopter parent. I don't believe you can go through life as a parent and never be a helicopter parent. It's impossible. If you are, chances are there's something wrong there as well. So you do the best you can and live with the result.
This is awesome. This has been a great topic, talking about helicopter parents, sneaky kids. And you know what? You just got to be the best parent you can be. And while they're young, try to steer them the way, just safety and the way that they can make and be progressive in their life. But once they become adults, you got to let that go. You have to let that go. And just like some of them said, let them make their own mistakes, just like you did. And you don't want them to turn out like Jason, like that, he had, Jason had a helicopter parent, anyway, but you don't want them to turn out like that. But anyway, thanks for watching My Perspective Mondays. Please tune in again, to our show and watch all the shows on the Keone production channel. We love you. You have a great evening. Thank you.
Shalom, y'all.
Please don't be a helicopter parent so your kid doesn't turn into a supernatural killer.
Oh, so that ain't the